Hello. I am Cassie Brown, and I am thrilled to welcome you to the Amplify My Impact podcast. After years of consulting and managing programs for some of the top entrepreneurs, CEOs, and marketers in the industry, I am on a mission to expand our contribution, to grow, scale, and create more so we can do and give more. This podcast celebrates entrepreneurs who are boldly stepping up to own their calling, expand their influence, and stretch outside their comfort zone, who've decided to stop playing it small, pick up the mantle of contribution, and serve at a higher level to lead by example and light the way for others. If that's you, then get ready to amplify. There's a fire that burns inside your soul, and we're going to ignite it into a roaring blaze of unstoppable momentum. Hi, everybody. I'm Cassie Brown, and today I have Tracy Goss joining me and Jorge Vasquez, and I'm really excited to bring Tracy and her message to you. She is the author of The Last Word on Power and creator of the incredible reinvention methodology that through our interview today, you'll get to know a lot more about how revolutionary this idea is and how in any environment, how essential it is to the growth and development of not only you and your business, but even more so during this time. She consults with leaders and executive teams on reinventing themselves as much as the corporations that they're involved in, and essentially makes impossible things happen. So we're really excited to have Tracy here and Jorge with us. So Tracy, welcome, and please definitely fill in the gaps in any part of the introduction that I may have missed over what incredible work that you do. And we'll just get started, and I can't wait to hear your story and your personal transformation and where you've came from, but how you've also created this legacy of leadership.
Great. Thank you, Casey. Delighted to be here and to meet both of you. I think the thing I would start with is to say that I feel very strongly that before you can reinvent an organization, you have to reinvent the leaders of the organization. And having reinvented leaders doesn't give you a reinvented organization but it is a prerequisite for taking that on. And that's what the reinvention methodology is. It starts with an intense inquiry with the leaders about who they have been being, where their results have come from, how they have become successful, and that allows them to see that what got them to where they are now is actually going to be the stop to where they want to go in the future, particularly if they're making a shift from something like being an entrepreneur to being a CEO, or even from being a COO to being a CEO. It often seems like, well, it can't be that different. I'm accountable now. I'm the person that makes everything happen. And, this isn't really different. And it's very different. It's a total shift in being. And that's the other thing I would say about my work, is that it's located in the arena of being. So it's not a psychological program. It's not a philosophical program. It is ontological. Ontology, quite simply, being the study of being. And my work comes from three places. Theater, which is my background. I worked professionally as an actress many years ago. I've continued to work in theater and work with people in theater. I work currently as a producer. So a combination of theater, of business, of course, and of philosophy. So it's a mixture of those three. But my intention has always been to put something together that allowed people to have direct access into their everyday lives, their everyday circumstances that they are dealing with that seem to be the obstacles to fulfilling the commitments that they have. So let me stop there and give you a chance to ask some questions.
Oh my goodness, that was absolutely incredible, and just literally, no pun intended, sets the stage for so much, because I want to hear about more of that transition, and I think it's such a beautiful representation of our past experiences and the way that they mold and shape our future. And I think a lot of people sometimes they think that because they don't have this sort of background that they're creating those walls and those obstacles like you mentioned, instead of realizing who they really can choose to be. and taking that and stepping up in that leadership role.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing just a little bit about like your beginnings
Sure.
and a little bit of backstory?
Well, I'll tell you the story. I was working in Los Angeles. It's where I met my business partner, Sheila Reed. And I had uh, I was working with actors. A friend of mine had asked me if I would take on an acting class that he had begun in New York and wanted to bring to Los Angeles. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to do that for a while. I was looking at kind of what was next in my life. And working with actors and having been one, actors are always complaining about how difficult life as an actor is, and how difficult it is to work, and everything that's in the way of being successful. So one day I just said, all right, I'm going to do a new program that isn't about an acting class. It's about producing an impossible result in your career, because I'm just listening to everyone every day talk about how difficult it is and how impossible it is. So at the time, Sheila, my business partner, had her own business, and she was running a secretarial business. And so she and I were working together, and she joined me in this program. And I said, look, next week, we're going to meet at 6 a.m. in the morning. We're going to meet for a month from 6 to 8 a.m. every morning and for the entire weekend. Who wants to play? And 25 people showed up, and we did this first program in the garage of the Hollywood Hills home that I was living in at the time. And so we did that every morning. I said, the only excuse for not being here is that you're on a set, that you're working. Otherwise, you need to be here. And to stay in the program, you have to promise to produce something that seems to be impossible. And then I just started to work with all of the background that I had from transformation. I had been a part of the very early transformational programs. You mentioned Landmark Forum, Jorge. Mm-hmm. I was one of the early people way back in the S days. In fact, I opened the New York office and led seminars, and for many, many years. And so I put that together with my own work in transformation. I've been a lover of philosophy since college, and then my theater work, which is all about transformation. Who someone has to be as an actor, what you have to know about yourself to step outside of the limits of who you personally are, to step inside of the of who someone else is being, and have that be valid for an audience. So we did this for 30 days, and at the end of 30 days, I think we had a 99.99% of people who produced their result. And there were things like getting their first acting job, going from what was called an under 5 part to a major part, for a producer, raising $250,000 for a project, getting into the union, getting an agent, things that, actors are always having a difficult time with. So at the end of the first month, people said, well, we can't stop. Let's continue to do this. And by the way, I have a friend that would like to join us. So by that time, I had invited Sheila to join me, and we became partners that early on. And we started to do a program a month for new people. And then with people who had been through the program, we would meet Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and do a continuous program. So within a few months, we had moved out of the garage and into a larger space, the Masonic Temple. And then after a few months after that, we moved into our own space, which was the museum, the gymnasium for the Methodist Church on Hollywood Boulevard, which is now the site of the Kodak Auditorium.
Oh, wow.
So, and we had, in a very short time, like 300 people showing up at 6 a.m. And it had expanded from actors to actors, writers, directors, producers, even CPAs whose clients were all in the industry, anyone in the entertainment industry, makeup people, production people, one end of the spectrum to the other. And while we were doing that, I was invited, and this is where the transition happened. We did that for a number of years. We had 17 people on our staff working with us, teaching the programs that I was making up. We would do a weekend once a month. That would be a marathon weekend. And it was exciting. I mean, it was a little hokey too. I mean, we would sing "There's No Business Like Show Business" every morning as people went out to work. So there were, we would do whatever it took. My opening statement would be, someone is going to get hired today to do a part that you can do, or to play a role in a film, or to have a position on a film. The only question is, will it be you or will it be someone else? And it won't be you if you're sitting around today being upset about what happened yesterday. So the morning was for people to really totally recreate their commitment and to go out and get a job. And I was invited during the course of this, probably about 3 years into it, to come on the board of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. And I said, sure, if there's some difference we can make, because the context for the program was always that the entertainment industry was a platform for making a difference in the world. And that was the context from which we did the work that we did, in which people produced results and built their career from. So the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce said, and this was at a time when it was a surprise, but they said, well, we don't have any computers. We need computers if you want to know what we need. I said, all right, well, we'll do a benefit and we'll get you the computers. And they said, no, don't do benefits. We found that they don't work. I said, no, it's all right. We'll do a benefit. I mean, I had 300 extremely talented people from every aspect who could certainly, put on a benefit. So we did. I went to Dom DeLuise, who was a spokesperson for a computer company at the time doing their commercials, talked to Dom and his agent, and he wanted a star in Hollywood Boulevard. And I said, fine, we'll get you the star. You get us the computers. So we had the computers before we even started. And then Dom DeLuise brought his show and Dean Martin's Gold Diggers to the Hollywood Palace. And we did this huge event where all of the people in the program participated in putting it together and selling tickets, and was extremely successful. So I'm at a meeting of the Chamber of Commerce. And by the way, all the people who were on this board were the heads of the studios and the networks. And so, they said, well, how did you do this? We've been having, we stopped doing benefits long ago because they don't make any money. And the person sitting next to me, who was a very senior executive at Paramount, said, can you come in and work with my senior people? Can you get some of that all over us? So
Wow.
Sheila and I had been thinking about that time, that the next stage for us would be to move from the seminar business, which is basically what we were in, to the consulting business, where we would be working with corporations, where we would be working with organizations. Mm-hmm. So we walked in at the top of Paramount Studios, worked with the senior executives in one of the divisions, which was great fun and had really outstanding results. And then that spread throughout one studio and one studio to another, and from, a studio to a different business. We determined early on, and I think this is one of the important things that people need to determine in their businesses, is how are we going to grow our business? And we took a stand early on that we would do it by referral, because we wanted to spend most of our time engaged in the work that we were doing. Now, there's always marketing to do, there's always selling to do, there's always business to do, but we chose that pathway. So, and that's over all of these years, how we have built the business, through referral. So at any given time, our clients would be predominantly the people that had immediately referred us, while there are some clients that we continue to work with for a long time. So I would say the late 80s and the 90s, in the 90s mostly, most of our work was out of the country. So we, to bridge that gap, we then became a consulting firm. We moved our business into Austin because we were looking for a place that would work for our families, our parents, and all of our families moved to Austin, and we could work anywhere from there. At one point, I was introduced from a colleague to a company in Texas called HEB, which just in this past year was named the #1 grocery company in the country. And they only do business in Texas. So that's quite an extraordinary accomplishment. And started to work with them in 1993. I still work with them. They're still a major client.
That's fascinating.
And yeah, so that's kind of the early days, and it's kind of how for about 15 years, all of our work was in Europe because of referrals again. And then I started to work with this company in San Antonio, based in San Antonio. And so now a lot of my work, I've worked with 200 or 300 executives in San Antonio and have become part of a city that is transforming itself. So it's kind of been a whirlwind. We've worked all over the world, and now we're concentrated in San Antonio, and it's some of the most exciting work that I've had the privilege to do.
Wow. What
Sorry, long answer to your question.
It's perfect. Go ahead, Cassie.
No, I was just first I want to comment that absolutely I agree with you. The best business partners come out of LA. So that's definitely a nod to Jorge.
Certainly did for me.
Yes, I'm incredibly thankful for the opportunity. I love the way that even before you knew exactly what you had discovered, you were embodying it. Like you made the impossible possible with just starting that 25-person meeting out of the garage. And then when the Chamber of Commerce told you, benefits don't work, like not one point did it seem like you hesitated, where you just knew. You knew and you decided, and you stepped into who you needed to be at that point to make it happen. And I love the fact that, and if anyone's listening and running the numbers and doing the math, Tracy shared with us before we started recording, she's had some clients that have stayed with her over the years for over 20 years. And I think that is refreshing to a lot of people, to let them know, like, just the power in relationship marketing and networking and truly serving your clients, that there is digital marketing to be leveraged. But at the end of the day, like, it is, those relationships and the way that you serve and the results that you get that really make all of the difference in the growth and the trajectory of a company. It's just amazing to hear that referral system is alive and well, and I wish more people would share that message, because a lot of people, they just want to take the easy way and do the paid traffic, where they feel like it's sort of like a barrier, hands off, like they don't have to interact. And I think that interaction is what really sets people apart. So
it's also extremely rewarding to be able to be with people from a stage in their career to where they are now the people running the company. When I first started to work with them, they were on the early years track of being a senior executive, and they are now the people running the company. And to be a part of that, it's just extremely satisfying for the relationships that get built. So, because truly, that there's a partnership that happens over the years, and while they are clients and they continue to be clients, it goes way beyond that in terms of working together.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So now we're getting to, that was incredible story. Like, I love backstories and seeing how people grow and develop, not only into, that entrepreneur, but like creating this legacy of a company. And so at what point did you see the opportunity where I need to impact more people? This needs to be in the book. Cause you cover it briefly in the book, like where you wanted to make more of an impact. You had to get this information more at a mass level. So can you kind of talk to us, like, how that came about, what that looked like?
Well, there was an exercise that we used to do with the entertainment industry group in Hollywood. And we would do it on weekends when we did a marathon weekend together. And we would break everybody up into groups of 10 or 20, and each group would say, okay, I'm going to be Universal Studios, and I'm going to be Disney, and I'm going to be NBC, or I'm going to be CBS. And the challenge was to come up with what you would do as an organization to change or make some difference in the world. Take on something like hunger, take on something like poverty, take on something, one of the major things that the world was dealing with, and how you would use the platform of your studio to do that, to come up with a strategy, come up with a plan, and to present it. And we would do awards and presentations, and really had an experience of the entertainment industry making a difference. And this was years before, what did they call it? The We Are the World event that
Yes.
actually took that on. So, I mean, that was very exciting for us to see, not like we created it, but just to see that that was part of it. And from our perspective, we did create it just by being a clearing for that, not like create it to take credit for it, but it was part of what we were, why we existed. And so it got very clear that if we were able to do our work on a corporate level, we would have a larger platform than on an individual level. And that really came out of those exercises of seeing what organizations could do if they were to declare that they were in the business of changing the world. So when we first started our business in the consulting business, that was not something that you could say outright. We're in the business of changing the world. It was too woo woo, and especially if you had come from California, it was definitely, it was transformation was interesting, but please don't get it on my people. So now, of course, you can't hear any CEO speak without using the word transformation.
Right.
It's used in many different ways, not necessarily the way that I use it, but it's in the mainstream. And it wasn't in the mainstream at the time. Now you can say, and I have clients, companies who say, we are in the business of changing the world. And our vehicle for that is we are a tomato company. One of the clients that I have currently is Nature Sweet. Nature Sweet is a company that is a tomato company. They make those really delicious. They're best known for their cherubs. They're very small little tomatoes that are just absolutely delicious. Though they have a whole line of organic vegetables now, but that their whole purpose is that they are the groundbreaking leader of the fresh tomato industry, driven by unleashing the power of people, and that their entire purpose is to transform the lives of the agricultural workers. And when people say to them, well, yes, but can you do that and be profitable? Their CEO would tell you that's how and why we are profitable, because our purpose is to transform the lives of agricultural workers. So it's what we set out to do. We're not for everybody. We are not a consultancy that companies that just want to make more money would be interested in, because our work is too hard. And if you just want to make more money, you don't need to reinvent yourself. There are lots of methods and good programs, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly valid. In fact, that's the main purpose that business has been for many years. And I say that's changing now, that there are more and more companies that are saying, we have a purpose, we have a reason for existing. You have to be profitable to stay in the game. Otherwise, you don't get to play. So it's not instead of profit, it's the context in which you make profit. So our clients are all people who, before they ever met me, were taking on impossible things. That's who we get referred to. Someone will say, sit on someone else's board and say, look, given what you're taking on, you should meet Tracy. I think you'd be interested in knowing the work that they do. So we meet and talk and see if there's a fit. But I never try to talk someone into taking on something impossible. The clients I have the privilege of working with, they're going to do the impossible whether they ever meet me or not. And for those people, we have something state of the art to offer in a partnership. And that's how our business has gotten built.
Oh gosh, I love it. Like you're talking our love language, because that's the whole vision and purpose of what we've created with not only our coaching program with Amplify, but like all of our publishing platforms of amplifying my impact, is fully stepping into that purpose, not only, like you said, to be profitable, but for something bigger.
Yes.
And it's not an argument. Like I struggled with it for a long time, especially being in the marketing world, where I felt like it might just be a little bit too much for some people, where they want to know their numbers, they want to know their margins, they only want to talk about profitability. But then I realized that my passion and my fire were people who were called to grow for a bigger purpose. And it wasn't a question of being profitable. Like you said, you don't get to play the game. You don't get to survive in business if you're not profitable. So
Right.
that argument is mute. It's not about impact or income or
No.
profitability or purpose. It is literally about how they come into alignment to not only accomplish both, but to reach a level that truly was before, if you were just to, of your own devices, impossible. And that's what I love about your biggest message is, making the impossible possible. So I want to pause here and see if there's any input that Jorge wants to share, as far as, because this is a huge mindset shift for a lot of people. And I feel like once they're unleashed, it does have the capacity to change the world on a bigger scale.
So what I love about the book and you and the work of transformation is that it's awfully rigorous and makes no exceptions. It's life.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's not an opinion of whether you like it or not. It just is what it is, and what is required of you to accomplish the impossible takes reinvention, takes that commitment, and you lay out so many clear distinctions. What I'm curious is, some people are not to that level of exec or CEO. What could you share with our audience to get them to that point, so that they could find somebody like you and work with someone like you, to where they could then take on the impossible of something as bold and as daring as changing the world?
Well, I think the simplest thing is when you find a book or someone's, writings or thinking that you connect with, to get in touch with them and say, look, how can I have access to what you're doing? Do you teach? Do you offer programs? Can you recommend someone that does? Can you do it online? Can you do it different ways? One of the things that I mentioned to you earlier is that there've been a lot of people that have contacted me that were not able to come to a program in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
It just was too hard for them to do that. And there wasn't anything that I could offer that fit their schedule and, their budget and their purpose. The purpose was a fit, but logistically it was difficult. In the midst of the coronavirus that we're dealing with, like a lot of other people, I've gone to video, Zoom, these kinds of things to do my work with. And so, I'm now available to a lot of people that I wasn't available to before for coaching or consulting or even the fundamental program that I do. And I'm sure that that's true of many, many people. So I would say, when you found someone whose philosophy, whose commitment to life is similar, Casey, the way you said, something speaks to you. When it speaks to you, to reach out. The world is now, there is now access to reach people, whereas before we didn't think about it, unless you happen to be in the right place or there was something that was offered. And that's also part of this methodology, the reinvention methodology, which is that you create the opportunities that are there rather than the circumstances determine the opportunities. So I say, reach out, make a request, say, how can I have more access to what you've created, and see what comes of it. I promise you'd be surprised on the positive end. The worst that can happen is someone says, no, I'm sorry, I don't do that, I'm not interested. Then you can say, okay, can you recommend anyone, similar who is?
Mm-hmm.
But
So
get engaged, get in action, take
get
an
in
action,
action now.
fail,
Yeah, be willing to fail. So speaking of asking and getting access to more, this has been a burning question in my head, because I've wanted more of Tracy, and I had not thought of reaching out until recently because of Cassie. But my question, why only one book?
Ah, well, probably, for me, I'm a talker. I'm not a writer, and it takes me a long time to write a book. And quite frankly, and happily, I am to say, I've been very, very busy. So while I have a lot of stuff that has been created since the book, and I do have a commitment to put it in another book, it's the just my speed as a writer is not really good. So that's the real reason for it. It is still a commitment. It is not moved to the place of high priority. It's moving from impossible to possible to real for me. Okay. I have it in my own process. I am engaged in a book, though. It's not about this philosophy or this methodology, but it certainly is strongly connected to it, and it's called "The Courage to Grow Old." So
Mm,
I'm very engaged in
Oh, that sounds
that
wonderful.
book.
that does.
And there's a lot of similarities between the courage it takes just to be and the courage that it takes to grow old. And even in the face of the coronavirus, the courage that it takes to be in the face of something where every day you are confronted with more and more negative circumstances. The question that I am currently always dealing with my clients about, whether it's in their business or whether it's in their life personally, is who do you need to be? Who are you going to be in the face of those circumstances? And then how do you create being that person who's leading in the face of those circumstances, where you're leading your life and the circumstances are not? And right now we're living in one of the most difficult times to do that.
Definitely.
Just hearing that question from you, like, it's come full circle for me, because like Jorge is such an incredible friend, business partner, and mentor. But like we have so many conversations that center around that. Who do you need to be? Who do you need to step into and be?
Mm-hmm.
And hearing you say that, like I can see what, a force of influence that you were, not only on the way that he stands up and serves, but like just his like determination to be all in, like what you said. It's that high touch, it's that commitment to see it through, that growth and that development as a leader through every single phase. So I definitely want to respect your time, and closing out and wrapping up the interview. When you say who do you need to be, I know there's a huge process that has to take place, a lot of internal kind of inventory. But if someone's listening to this and some of the things have started to spark those light bulb moments where it's like, wait, I do have more of a power of a choice. And so what would you say to them, and taking those leaps of faith and moving forward to taking that ownership of who they needed to be versus just sort of settling for what the reality is before them right now?
Okay, let me give you an example because I think that will let people find their own examples. Um, if you are a parent who had a child that was born with one leg, you would have a choice. If you ask that question, who are you going to be in the face of the circumstance of having a child that's born with one leg? So you could, for example, say, all right, who I am being, who I'm going to be at every step of this child's life is that this child has no limitations.
Hmm.
Now, the default way of being for most people would be, all right, this is really something that shouldn't have happened. There's something wrong here. I'm going to have to, poor child. And there are going to be many things that this child won't be able to do. And we're going to have to compensate for that. And we're going to have to, it's a whole other approach to it, as opposed to, this child has no limitations. Now, every step of the way, there will be more that you'll have to take on. You'll have to be more and more conscious of what's going on in the world, because it will take more for this child than
Hmm.
for someone who has two legs, if they want to be an athlete, if they want to be a dancer, if they want to be a runner. But But so what? That's just part of what you own, coming from who your being is. There are no limitations. It will be harder. It will be difficult. But that's who I am. I am that this child has no limitations, as opposed to who I'm being is we have to allow for this all the time and always make, excuses and settle for, the best that it can be.
Mhm.
So does that help a little bit, Casey?
Oh
It,
yeah,
yeah,
that helps a lot.
yeah, it definitely
Right.
puts it into context. It reminds me of a scene in the movie Ray, the story of Ray Charles,
Hmm.
where he's a kid, and I think he dropped like the bowl or something, and he was crying out to his mother, and his mother um, restrained herself from going to his aid, and she had to hold back, and she was in tears, and did everything she could to not make noise because she had the awareness that this is going to be the rest of his life, and if I
Yes.
don't train him for it,
Yep.
he will struggle. And he
Yeah.
so she didn't treat him as handicapped. She had to shift her perspective of her child and know that he is powerful enough and capable enough, and with the proper guidance and training, he will be self-sufficient. And he once he got over the emotions, he started noticing and started using his hearing as a radar to know where his position was and where everything was. And then finally, when he got it calm enough, she then embraced them, and because he sorted it out. Oftentimes, I found that people want to be helpful and then end up enabling or disabling somebody because of their own stuff showing up.
Excellent example, Jorge. That's really what transformation is. The same set of circumstances show up completely differently. They show up as an opportunity rather than as a limitation. It's a great example.
Well, that is awesome. So once again, um, Tracy, thank you so much. I definitely want to open it up and give you an opportunity just to share, anything that we didn't cover. If there's anything that you did want to communicate, and just give you this opportunity to not only have the last word, but to share just your heart and where you would love to see things go for you, your company, and what you're working on.
No, no pun intended. The last word on power here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very blessed to do the work that I do, to have the business partner that I have, to have the clients that I have. I love my work. I've always loved my work. I'm very, very content doing what I'm doing, and there's always, how do we reach more people? How do we give more people the opportunity, the freedom, the capacity, and the ability, is how I like to say it, to lead an extraordinary life regardless of the circumstances.
Hmm.
So I'm always engaged in that. In today's world of podcasts and this kind of communication, there is that opportunity, and I'm looking at some of those choices. I think a while ago, my goddaughter, who is 20, about to be 23. When she was a teenager, we did a teenage program because she'd grown up
Hmm.
living in this. Her mother is my business partner. And so she said, I think this would help me. I'm very shy. And so we did a teen program. We didn't do it the same way, 5 days in a row intensively. We took the teenagers and had it over a 3 to 4 day weekend, and we did it 3 times a year, but we worked with them from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and saw it made a difference. When she got into college, she said, I think we need to do a program for 21-year-olds. She says, everybody around me, we're juniors, we're seniors now, she said, and everybody thinks we ought to know what we're going to do with our life, but nobody knows what we want to do with our life. It's like, if I follow my dreams, I won't make any money and I'll fail. So I have to find something that I don't hate, that I can be successful at. I said, what a terrible way to start out in life. So we did. We did one program that she was a co-creator of with me, with people who were the sons and the daughters and the grandsons and the granddaughters and the nieces and the nephews of clients, so that they had people who were
Hmm.
coaches for them. And we did it in a week of long days. And really the message that I would give people is that, to give up following your dreams is to give up on life. To settle. You can settle at 20 or 40 or 60 or 80, or you can never settle. One of the things I'm writing about in this book about the courage to grow old is that the day you grow old is the day when you think the best years are behind you. So, that's kind of a place to live from. With young people, it's, I can't do that, I'll fail. So they have to get past, failure as something that's in the way and embrace it. But to give up your dreams is to give up the privilege that it is to be alive. And what goes with that is failing. If you look to say, all right, if I were in a position where I couldn't fail, either physically or mentally, I didn't
Hmm.
have the opportunity to pursue something and fail at it, you would see what a privilege it is. So it's to be in touch with the privilege that it is to be alive and to use the one life that you and I get to pursue your dreams.
I am so glad that you brought that around full circle, because that is one of my favorite, just in life in general. Like, we really only do get one shot, so why
Yeah,
why wouldn't we like go after it with everything that we have and we're truly passionate about, instead of just settling or compromising for something less than. But that's definitely a topic that you talk about in the book, where it's like, if you get to the point where you just accept that you're going to die and you're going to have dirt thrown on your face and you're going to be just as satisfied or unsatisfied, like, that is a reality where it's like we're always pursuing. But it's, if that's the end, why not go after everything you have
absolutely.
with
Absolutely.
100%? So like,
Yeah.
if the outcome is never going to change, why set yourself up with those limitations? Like,
Yes.
the world is the boundaries and the box that you put yourself in. And I think that's what I love most about your mission and your message and what you teach.
Hmm.
So thank you so much for spending time with us. I definitely want to make sure Jorge has any final thoughts, but this was just such an incredible treat and pleasure. Thank you so much, Tracy. I
You're
really, really
very, very welcome. My pleasure.
So I do want to close out because this one quote that you put in the book, which I recommend everybody run out and buy. You can get it on Amazon. Um, is by George Bernard Shaw, and it says, "This is the true joy in life: the being recognized by yourself as the mighty one, the being thoroughly worn out before you are thrown on the scrap heap, the being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world would not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a short of splendid torch which I have got a hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it to future generations."
Yes. No one has said it better, and it moves me as well every time I read it. Thank you.
yeah.
I've held that close and dear to my heart, and so um, if you choose to pick up this book, know that you're gonna be up to playing a big game, and Tracy plays one of the biggest games that I know of. Where can people go to get more of Tracy?
You can go to Amazon and get the book.
That's for sure.
And
It's an amazing book. Like, it is truly an amazing book. Like, I
you
said
can
one thing and Jorge like held it up like it sits on his desk. Like,
also, you can contact me for any of the programs that we have and that we're now going to have via video. If people want to, if they find that they connect with what's in the book and they want to learn the principles of being a transformational leader in their life, it may be the only thing they want to lead is their own life, as opposed to an organization, or it could be, an organization, a community, a family. Just contact me and we'll be happy to tell you any of the things that we're doing, and look forward to reaching as many people as possible.
All right. Thank you so much, Tracy. This was incredible. And equally so, thank you, Jorge, for introducing me to Tracy's world and just all of her genius and the inspiration that she is to so many. So thank you for the work that you do. And we're proud to follow in the clearing that you've created and creating those messages and the leaders of tomorrow. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your work as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I hope you've received value, encouragement, and exactly what you need to help keep you in momentum to grow and impact the world around you. Big or small, we all make a difference. Thanks also for subscribing, downloading, and leaving a review. This helps us reach others who need this message in their life. If you know anyone who would benefit from this podcast, please share so you and I can help more people boldly step into purpose. It is my heart's mission to help and encourage others. My internal belief that a rising tide lifts all ships. So much of what we talk about on the podcast is leading with value and building relationships through service. So we've created a collection of resources for you to continue growing, whether you are just getting started or ready to scale your business. Visit amplifymyimpact.com for show notes, downloads, programs, and more information about how to directly work with our team to amplify your impact and change the world.